What's up guys, welcome back, and in this video I'd like to take a look at state management with MobX. Now in the React community there are a few options when it comes to state management. The most commonly used is Redux, which I started to learn about but found the initial setup to be a bit cumbersome. I then explored the React Context API, which I wrote code for and was about to do a video for that. I then started to research the MobX approach and found this one to be the easiest to use and most intuitive. So that's what we'll do here. Now for our small to-do application, this is definitely overkill, and what we currently have is totally fine. I'm just doing this so you can get an understanding of how state management works. So here's a diagram of our components in our current application. We have this app component, which is the parent, and we have a bunch of child components. All the state and all the functions live in this app component, and if any of the child components needs to modify that state, we're just passing down the functions as props down to them and they can call it. Again, this is totally fine for our application because it's really small, but once it gets larger, you'll start to introduce more levels of components. For example, if I added another one here, if this component wanted to access the state, we'd have to pass it down 2 levels. And this can get a bit messy as you add more components. So the idea here is to add a global store where we keep our state and functions in. So if we add a store here, the idea is to move the state and the functions in here, and then we just access it from this global store. We no longer have to pass it down as props, as all the components should have access to the store. So that's what we'll do here. All right, before I start, I'd like to shout out Lee Halliday, who has great videos on MobX with React, and watching his videos helped me learn MobX. If you'd like to dive deeper into MobX, definitely check out his channel and his videos. I will link it in the description. So there are a few ways to work with MobX. The way I'm going to be doing it requires ejecting from Create React App. If you don't want to eject, there are several ways to do this, but I'm going to go ahead and eject. So if we go into our terminal, I can just do npm run eject to eject. Yes. The next thing I want to do is install a few packages. So I'm going to install MobX, MobX React, and we need this Babel plugin so we can use decorators, which MobX uses heavily. Okay, that's done. Let's go into our package.json file, and let's go down to where it says Babel, and we can add a new one here called plugins. And we can add transform decorators legacy, so we can get decorators to work, which I'll show you what it is in a second. Okay, so now we can make a global store where we can hold our global state and our functions. So let's make a new folder here. Let's call it stores, and let's make a new file in here. Let's call it todostore.js. And from here we can import what we need from MobX. So we need observable, we need action, and we need computed from MobX. So let's go ahead and make a class. So class todostore. And let's take care of the export right now. So let's just do const store equals new todostore, and we want to export that specific instance. Export default store. Okay, so the first thing we want to do is put all of our state in here. So if you go into our app.js, all of our state is right here. So let's go ahead and just copy this, and I'm going to leave it in here for now, and then let's put it in here. Let's change these colons to equal signs. So equals, and let's put a semicolon at the end, except for this one. Okay, now for all of our state, we want to wrap them in an observable decorator. And this tells MobX that we are observing this property and we can use it like that. So just add this to all of our state. And this should be observed throughout our application so React can update it if it needs to. And I'm just going to change this because we're going to be pulling from these to-dos just to make sure we are pulling from the correct one. Now let's go into our index.js entry point and let's set up MobX in here. So we have to import provider from MobX React, and we have to import our to-do store from here, to-do store. And now to pass down this to-do store to our entire application, we have to do something like this. We have to make a new root component, and we have to wrap that in a provider tag, and we'll pass down a prop called to-do store, and then we'll put our app in here. And let's close that tag. Sorry, I forgot to close this. Okay. And now here, instead of our app, we can pass in the root. All right. See if this is working. All right, it doesn't seem to like the decorator syntax. In here, I might have to restart my app. So let me just restart this. Okay, so that fixed it. Okay, now let's go into our app.js and let's see if we can pull from this new to-dos in our global store. So to use our to-do store in a component, we have to import some stuff first. Import inject an observer from MobX React. And then we have to use a few more decorators here. So we want to inject the to-do store so this component can use it. And we also want to specify it as an observer so React can re-render any of the components if any of the state changes. So observer. All right, save that. Okay. And now that we inject it, we have this global store available as props. So we can reference it as this.props.todo store, like this. And if we want, we can even store it as a variable, which is what we'll do here. So now let's try to have these ones show up instead of the ones in app.js. So let's look for our map here. Where's our map? Right here. So instead of mapping over this, we can just map over to-do store.todos. See if that works. And there you go. You see that we are now mapping over the to-dos in our global store. Okay, now let's start moving all of our functions to the global store. So all of this stuff we will move. So let's start with adding a to-do. So I'm going to grab this and I'm going to comment it out. And I'm going to paste it in our to-do store. And we're going to paste it right in here. Sorry, right in here. And we're going to mark it as an action. An action is just a function that modifies our state. So this is modifying our state right here. Actually, right here, it's pushing to it. So we have to declare it as an action. Now, this to-do input is actually a ref because we need the value of the input text box here. So if we go back to our app.js, you can see we have this create ref here. So to-do input is a ref, and we're referencing that here, right here. So we can leave the ref here and then just pass in the value to the function, or what we can do is actually move the ref to the global store. So I'm going to take that approach. So I'm going to change this to do store dot to do input, and then this I'm going to copy this, comment it out. I'm going to go to the to-do store, and I'm just going to make it part of our state here. So up here, and let's mark it up as observable. And since we're using React now, we have to import that as well. So let me just import that at the top. Import React from React. Okay, so now we have that right here, and we're referencing it here, okay? Now in React is pretty strict on setting state. It's immutable, and it doesn't allow you to do it unless you use the setState function. Now in MobX, it's not strict at all, and you can just mutate the state directly, which allows for shorter code. And if I'm not mistaken, under the hood, it actually is immutable because we're wrapping it in this observable decorator. So let's go ahead and get rid of this. We just comment it out for now. So all we have to do is push to the to-dos array. So what are we pushing? ID is this.id for to-do. Title is this to-do input right here. So to-do input. Completed is false, and editing is false. Okay. And here we were also incrementing that ID for to-do. So we can go ahead and do that right here as well. So this.id for to-do ++. Save that. And now back to our app.js. Instead of calling this add to do, we're now calling the one in our global store. Okay, so let's see if this works. And it still works, cool. And if you take a look at the dev tools here, it's kind of cramped. Not kind of cramped, it's really cramped. Let me just open this up. If you look in our app, we have a prop here, and we have our to-dos, and here it is right here. Awesome. Okay, let's continue, and let's work on all of these functions that are related to the to-do item. So let's go ahead and grab all of these. Check to-do, edit to-do, and all of this. So they're down here. So this is part of it. Yeah, all of this. Cancel, edit. Okay, so all of these. Let's go ahead and comment them out. Let's go to do item. Sorry, not to do item, to do store. And let's paste them here. let's mark them all as actions. So there, 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 and there. Action. Okay, let's start with this one. So we no longer need the set state. All we need is this. So let me just comment this out. And this .todos.splice. And that should do it. There's actually a bug here which we'll fix later on. But let's continue to just fix all of these. So for this one, check to do. All we have to do is grab this. And grab this. And call this. For edit to do, all we need is this one. And we need to set this over here too. And it should be this. It should be equal sign. And then we can just grab this. Cool. For done edit, we just need this. We don't need this event persist anymore. We actually need this. Paste that in. And we no longer have this previous state, but we can just grab this from our own state. For cancel edit, let's grab this. Comment this out. And this is just this. And I can just splice here. This. Did I do that for the other one? Yeah, I forgot to do it for this one. Go right here. This dot to do is dot splice. I do it here. Okay, cool. And I think I forgot. Okay, cool. Okay, now let's go into our to-do item and make any necessary changes here. Actually, let's go into our app first. And right here, we no longer need to pass in all of these. So just comment that out. Okay, now let's go into our to-do item. And we no longer need these props, all of these functions. Cool. And let's go ahead and make some changes. So in our app.js, in order to inject the to-do store, we have this decorator syntax. But in our to-do item and for the rest of our components, these are stateless functional components. So we can't use decorators for them. So let me show you how to do it here. Import. We gotta import a few things first. Inject and observe, sorry. From MobX React. And here, instead of that inject decorator, we just call it as a function. Inject, we give it the to-do store. And for the observer, we just do another function here. And down here, just close those out. And let's go ahead and save that. This.props.todo store. And we can change all of these now. So instead of props.checkTodo, this one is to-do store. And these are still being passed in, so we can leave these. This one is to-do store. These two are to-do store. This one too. And this one. Okay, hopefully I did that right. Sorry, it's not this.props, it's just the props coming in, so. Okay, and now hopefully everything that has to do with to-do items still works. So edit still works. The canceling, when I press escape, still works. The checking still works. And this is from before. Let's see if deleting works. And it does. Cool. Okay, everything still works. Awesome. And if you want to, you can verify the prop down here. So to-do store prop types dot object dot is required. Okay, now let's work on the other components. So let's start with this to-do's remaining component. Let's go into our app.js, and right here we're calling this .remaining, and we're passing it as a prop. We don't need that anymore. And let's see what we have in remaining right here. So I'm going to copy this, comment it out, go into our to-do store, and let's paste that in. So right here. So in MobX, there's actually the notion of computed properties, which coming from Vue is very familiar to me. So computed properties are just values that are computed based on some other state. And usually this is when you're returning something in the function. So in our case, we're just filtering the to-dos, filtering them based on to-dos that are not completed, and then just getting the length. So we don't need the state anymore, it's just this to-dos. And instead of using the action decorator, we use the computed get decorator, and we no longer have to call the function like this. We can just call it like a normal function. We don't need the arrow function. And then now in our to-dos remaining, we can just reference it like this, but we have to import all that stuff. To-do store. So let's go ahead and copy all this stuff. Paste that in there. Then we have to do the whole inject to-do store. Then we have to make it observable. That. And then just close it up. And save that. Okay, it's still complaining. I think that's just because, go back to our app. This, any remaining we need for the CheckAll component. So let me just, we'll get to that later. Where is it? Okay, let me just comment this one out for now. Okay, so let's see if this still works. And it does, cool. Okay. Okay, so let's fix this CheckAll. So this requires any remaining and CheckAll to-dos. So any remaining is just another computer property that depends on this one. So let me comment that. Let's go to our store. Let's go to here. Let's make it computed. Get. Let's remove this. And we no longer have to call it as a function. We just call it as a property. Okay, let's get CheckAll, I believe. Yeah, this one. CheckAll to-dos. This is just a normal action. So let's grab this. Back to our store. Just put it up here with the other actions. Just make it an action. Don't need this. So all we need is this line actually. So remove this. Do that. This dot to dos. And now in our app, we can uncomment this out. We don't need these props anymore. Let's go to our CheckAll. Let's import that stuff we need. So just this. Let's do that inject stuff. Inject to-do store. Don't need these anymore. We can put the to-do store in here. And we can just reference it like this. Or you can store a variable if you like. We don't have to call it as a function anymore. Same it here. Okay, see if that works. Check all, uncheck, it still works. Awesome. Okay, now let's work on the filter. So back to app. Where's the filter here? So we need to move UpdateFilter, and we already have this state on our global store. So I'm gonna remove this. UpdateFilter. Okay, I need these two. This one I already did, so I'm gonna comment this out. So I need these two. Okay, let's go to our to-do store. Paste it right here. So UpdateFilter is an action. And all this is doing is updating our filter in our state. And to-do's filter is a computed property. So computed get. We don't need this anymore. We don't need a reference to state. And let me just save all of these. We can get rid of this. And in to-do's filtered, we have to just grab this, paste it in, inject it, to-do store. I'll do this behind the scenes. We can comment that out because we don't need that. And we can just grab that const to-do store equals props dot to-do store. For all of these, we can do to-do store. Okay. So we have this new computer property, and now we want to map over this instead of just the to-dos. So the filter should work. So if I go into here, back to our app, let's look for our map. So instead of mapping over just the to-dos, we can map over to-dos filtered. Should be a lowercase. All right, let's see if this filter works. So check one. Okay, so it does work. Awesome. Okay, I think the only one left is the clear completed. As you can see, it's not working here. So what's left here? So let's grab these two and move them into our store. So right here, let's paste it in. So this one is actually a computer property. So let's move that down here. Start with that one. So computed, get, don't need this, don't need this, and don't need this. Clear completed is an action. And all we need is this line over here. So let me just take this out. So this dot to-dos is equal to this to-dos filter. Okay. Save that. Go into our to-dos clear completed. Let's grab this real quick. So same thing. Okay, so there should be props.todo store .clear completed. And we don't need this anymore. Save that. And back to our app. To-dos completed count. Yeah, right here we no longer have to call it as a function. And see if it works. And it's not showing up. Oh, it's because we don't need this anymore. That work? Still doesn't work. Sorry, this should be to-do store. There you go. See if it works. And it does. Cool. Okay, I want to quickly fix a bug in editing and deleting to-dos and filtering. So if I check one of these, filter them out, and then delete it or edit it, it's not going to delete this one. It's going to delete the other one, which is incorrect. So if I delete that, and you can see that it deleted the wrong one. And the same thing happens when you edit. Change. And that's the only one remaining. So the problem here is we are passing in the index, and that index changes when you filter our to-dos. So we don't want to delete or edit based on the index. We want to base it on the key, which we have an ID for. So let's go ahead and do that. So we no longer need the index. We can take these out too. Let's get rid of this. Let's go to our to-do item. We don't need this prop anymore. I'll clean this up behind the scenes. And for check to do, we no longer need the index because we're just going to grab it from the to-do ID. Same with edit to do. Same with done edit and cancel edit. So here. Okay. And for deleting, we need to pass in the to-do ID. Okay. See if there's any more references to index. Nope. Okay, good. So let's save that. And now in our store, let's start with delete to do. It's up here, I think. Okay, so we're no longer taking in the index, we're taking in the ID, and we can get rid of these. Now we can grab the index based on the ID that's coming in. So we can do const index equals this dot to dos dot find index, and we can do item dot ID equals the ID that's coming in. Okay, and let me just copy this. I'm going to do the same for these ones. Let's put it in here. Except the ID is coming from the to-do. And we no longer need this index. So move this. Paste that in. Remove this. Paste that in. Remove this. Paste that in. And that should do it. Sorry, for these ones, it should be to-do ID. To-do. To-do. Okay. Cool. Now, did that work? Do that. Delete it. Okay, so it deletes the correct one and the first one is still there. Let's try for editing too. Check, completed. Edit. Still there. And it works correctly now. So there you have it, guys. We've managed to take a look at state management with MobX to move all of our global state into its own store. I'll leave some links and videos to the other state management solutions, so you can take a look at that and decide what you like best. Please comment, like, and subscribe if you haven't already done so. Thanks for watching, guys. See you in the next one. Okay, thanks. Bye.